I landed in the hospital from flat-out exhaustion, and not one person from my so-called family showed their face. No visits, no phone calls, nothing. The only thing I got was a half-hearted text from my brother. "Hey, you still good for the car payment?" That was it. That one lousy message hit me harder than the 4 in my arm. In that moment I stopped lying to myself. I didn't have a family. I had responsibilities disguised as relatives. A few days after that, I did something. I'll get to it. But what happened next? My dad actually called. Out of the blue. Sounded freaked out. I'll never forget what he said. But let me rewind a bit first. So yeah, I'm Charles. I'm 29, living in a small apartment in Oregon. I work as a speech therapist at a public elementary school, which basically means I spend 8 hours a day surrounded by coughing kids, drowning in paperwork, and trying to make eye contact with parents who either treat me like a genius or forget I exist. And no, the kids aren't coughing because of speech issues, they're just sick. It's Oregon in the fall. The air's damp, the classrooms are cold, and I share a closet-sized space with the school nurse. Someone's always sneezing close enough to hit me in the neck. Once the bell rings, my day's only halfway over. I go home, slam something in the microwave, and try to finish lesson plans before passing out on the couch. So when I say I burned out, I mean it in the most literal sense. I collapsed. Full stop. Right in the school hallway while walking a 5-year-old to group therapy. 1 second I was talking about feelings, the next I was flat on the ground, waking up to a nurse shaking her head and saying, "Honey, your body just called time out." Stress overload. Zero sleep. Barely any food. Dehydrated and running on fumes. Whatever name you slap on it, the result was the same, me, lying in a hospital bed wearing a robe that wasn't mine, hands twitching, breath shallow, smelling like canned soup, and staring at a phone that stayed silent. No one called. No one asked? My parents? Nothing. Daniel? Just that one beautiful message about his damn car. And here's the thing, I tried. I sent a message from the emergency room, playing it cool. "Hey, I'm at the hospital. Collapsed at work. Just tired, getting fluids. Love you." Short. No drama. I wasn't looking for a pity parade, just maybe a "hope you're okay," or a "hang in there." Instead, nothing. Dead silence. That family group chat might as well have been a ghost town with tumbleweeds rolling through it. 3 hours passed before my phone buzzed. I actually felt a little jolt of hope. Maybe Mom finally saw the text, maybe Dad. Nope. Just Daniel. He sent a sad face emoji and followed it up with, "Can you still pay the car thing?" Not a single word about how I was doing. Not even fake concern. Just the car. Like me blacking out at work was a minor inconvenience to his personal budget. And that's when it hit me. Sharp. Cold. Like something inside cracked open and let the truth spill out. I wasn't a sister to him. I was a monthly payment plan that sometimes texted back. Thing is, part of you always knows when you're being used. But you don't want to believe it, so you find ways to justify it. Make excuses? I'd been doing that for years. But now, lying there with an 4 in my arm and a nurse checking my vitals, the mask came off. I saw it for what it was. I was done being the backbone. Done being the one who showed up, fixed things, and kept everything stitched together. I was officially out. The nurse came back and later asked how I was feeling. I told her the physical pain was a 3 out of 10. The emotional stuff? Somewhere between. Set it all on fire. And vanish without a trace. She gave me that quiet nod nurses give when they know there's nothing a Tylenol can fix and walked out. I laid there staring at the ceiling, replaying every plan I'd dropped over the past year. The beach weekend with friends? Cancelled. Daniel needed rent. My own car repairs? Skipped. Mom claimed another emergency. The second job I picked up. That was to help them cover their mortgage. Not mine. Theirs. I work weekends at a toy store in the mall. Peak holiday season. If you've never stood behind a cash register while kids lose their minds over plastic dinosaurs and their parents scream about expired coupons, you don't know real psychological warfare. It's retail hell, dressed in red and green. And yet I never once asked myself, why am I the only one working 2 jobs? Daniel is 20. Healthy. Fully capable. Except for his gaming addiction and refusal to do anything that remotely resembles work. He dropped out of college in year 2, told everyone it wasn't his journey. Mom and Dad gave him a standing ovation like he just climbed Everest. Me? When I was his age, I was grinding full-time while wrapping up my grad degree. But sure, he needs space. Mom hasn't worked since I was in high school. Says she's too emotionally sensitive for office life. Dad does a freelance gig here and there, but mostly hides out in the garage tinkering with projects that don't exist and yelling about politics. They're not sick. They're not retired. They've just decided I'm the adult, and they're the dependents. And I've let them get away with it, because somewhere along the line, I thought that's what being a good son meant. I closed my eyes in that hospital bed and pictured my little apartment. 1-room setup. Couch that's seen better days. Ramen in the pantry. A fridge that sounds like it's about to take flight. They knew where I was. They just didn't care. And you know what's wild? Those 3 days in the hospital were the calmest I'd felt in years. No lesson plans. No crying kids licking the floor. No emails from frantic parents. Just quiet. For once, no one needed anything from me. On day 4, a nurse walked in with my discharge papers. Gave me that kind, worn-down smile and said, "Doctor says you need to rest. No work for a week." I nodded. Didn't mention that my side job had already emailed about a missed shift, or that I was doing math in my head trying to figure out how to pay for the meds they prescribed. During those 3 days, I got 11 messages from my family. Not a single one said, "How are you?" or, "We're worried." They were all just reminders. To-dos. Mini demands? From Dad. "Don't forget the mortgage." Hours later. "Electric bills due." From Mom. "Saw a cute sweater on sale. Can you send $50? Then, "Do you remember where you bought that blender? Ours broke. Send the link." Daniel sent me a Venmo request that said, "Bless you, sis," with a laughing emoji. Then followed up with, "Mom says you're ignoring us. You good? Just send the money if you're busy." And then memes. Actual memes. Stickers. Random TikToks. They knew I was in the hospital. And still, the only messages I got were about bills, broken kitchen appliances, and bargain sweaters. Plus a sad face emoji for flavor. I didn't break down right away. I laughed. Out loud. One of those dry, cracked laughs that sounds like it's been buried under years of tight smiles. I was standing in the hallway when it hit me, and a nurse turned to check if I was okay. I waved her off. Just a guy realizing his family treats him like a wallet with Wi-Fi. I didn't bother replying. Didn't text, didn't call. Didn't try to reason with anyone. Instead, I pulled up the notes app on my phone and typed a single sentence. They don't love me. They just need me. After that, I crawled back into the stiff hospital bed, pulled the blanket up to my chin, and cried. Not the loud kind. The quiet, breathless kind that empties you out from the inside. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the grief of finally facing the truth, that the kind of family I'd always wished for, one that saw me, cared about me, was a fantasy. Always had been. That was the moment I drew the line. When I got discharged, I came home running on fumes. Dark circles under my eyes, a plastic bag of prescriptions in one hand, and a doctor's note full of instructions I already knew I'd ignore because reality doesn't pause for burnout. The fridge in my apartment was humming like it always does, this low, droning sound that usually makes me want to throw it out a window. But that night? It actually felt kind of nice. It was the only thing in my life that didn't expect anything from me. My phone, though? Constant buzzing. Texts. Notifications. More requests. Same routine. They didn't even skip a beat. I poured some coffee, sat down by the window, and for once I just sat. No multitasking. No mental to-do list. Just me, a cup of coffee, and a mind racing with memories I hadn't thought about in years. One popped out, clear as day. I was 10. Daniel woke up crying in the middle of the night. Mom walked into my room and whispered, "Charles, honey, Mommy's got a migraine. Be a sweetheart and rock him back to sleep, okay? You're the grown-up one. You've got this." And man, I remember feeling proud. Like I'd been promoted or something. The grown-up one. That phrase stuck to me like a label on my forehead. By 11, it was my job to put Daniel to bed every night. Mom and Dad would duck out, real quick, run to the store, grab dinner. Sometimes they didn't come back till after midnight. Daniel would scream for them, and I'd be sitting there in pajamas, trying to calm him down while silently crying. But hey, I was the grown-up, right? I was supposed to handle it. At 13, I was picking Daniel up from daycare after school, walking him home, fixing boxed mac and cheese because Mom was too wiped, and Dad was fried from work. Daniel didn't have schoolwork yet, but I'd read to him anyway because it was good for his brain. They called it helping. But helping implies you had a choice. I never did. If I said, "I have a test tomorrow," they'd shoot back with, "Your test can wait. Daniel needs you. He only has us." But somehow, I was always included in that us, never treated like one of the kids who might need something too. At 14, I finally got invited to a friend's birthday party, bowling and pizza. I was hyped. My parents even said yes. But that morning, Mom looked at Daniel, saw he had a mild fever, and said, "You wouldn't leave me alone with a sick child, would you?" And just like that, I stayed home. That night, I scrolled through photos of my friends laughing in bowling shoes while Daniel yelled at me because his soup was too hot. It wasn't his fault. He was just a kid. But so was I. And nobody seemed to notice. Later that week, I started cleaning. Not just the dishes, really cleaning. Like I was trying to scrub something out of me. Found this old box buried in a closet. Childhood stuff. Photos, doodles, little time capsules from a kid who wanted to be seen. One picture stopped me cold, 10-year-old me, down on the kitchen floor with a rag in hand. I remembered that exact moment. We were expecting guests. Daniel was napping, so vacuuming was off limits. You'll wake him. Mom disappeared to get ready. Dad was out in the garage. And I was there, on my knees, scrubbing tile and socks with raw hands. You're the grown-up one. You understand. I remember asking once, "Why doesn't Daniel have to help clean?" Mom looked confused and said, "Because he's a boy. And younger. You get that, right?" Fast forward. Daniel drops out of college. Guess who pays the rest of his dorm fees just so it won't wreck his credit? Me. Told them that was the last time. A month later, Daniel wants to take a design class. Just $300. Can you cover it? And yeah. I did. I kept telling myself it was temporary. That they were just tired. That I was stronger, more stable, and I could take the hit. That if I just kept holding it all up a little longer, they'd finally say it. "We're proud of you." They never did. What I got instead was, "Well, you've always been the strong one." Or, "You've got your life together. Daniel doesn't." Or the classic, "Things just come easier for you." And when I tried, just tried, to say I was tired, that maybe I needed help, they flipped the script. "Oh, so now you're just gonna abandon your family?" Or, "You're being dramatic. And of course, we raise you, and you can't even help out?" So I shut up. I kept the machine running. Until I couldn't anymore. Hooked up to fluids, blinking under fluorescent lights in that hospital bed, I finally admitted the one truth I'd never let surface. This doesn't have to be my life. I pulled out a notebook and started writing. Just lists at first. What I'd paid for. What I covered monthly. All the times I'd chosen their comfort over my own well-being. The number of things I'd said. No. Two, not because I didn't want them, but because someone else always needed me more. By the time I put my pen down, I felt sick. I could have moved into a nicer place. Could have taken a real vacation. Could have done something, anything, for myself. But instead, I gave and gave and gave. And all I ever got back was, "Hey, can you send a little more?" Not anymore. That version of me, the endless giver, the quiet enabler, the guy carrying his whole family on his back? He's done. No more pretending they're clueless. They know exactly what they're doing. And I'm not their ATM with feelings anymore. And as for Daniel's car? He can walk. My phone wouldn't stop going off. Just this constant hum of vibrations and pings, like it was trying to claw its way into my attention. I finally gave in and checked. 23 unread messages. I took a long breath and braced myself. Opened the first one. The early messages were dressed up like concern, clumsy attempts at pretending they cared. Mom wrote, "Sweetheart, how are you? I'm getting worried. Please send me a text." Almost kind. Almost believable. Then, not long after, "Electricity bills here. If we don't pay by Friday, there's a late fee. Can you cover it?" So that was that. 2 texts, just enough time to pivot from worried mom to unpaid bill. Daniel was, "Daniel. Ein. Hello? You alive?" Then right after, "If you died, could you still cover my car payment?" And just like that, he was back on script. "No, really though, I need it by Friday." Half an hour later, Dad chimed in, short and annoyed. "Charles, where are you? Your mother's worried. Have a little decency." I stopped there. Didn't need to scroll further. I could already feel my chest tightening. So I shut the phone off. Completely. Dropped it on the nightstand and tried to sleep. But sleep didn't come. My thoughts kept looping. I felt hollow and wired at the same time. Like I was grieving someone I hadn't buried yet. When I woke up, my head was pounding. My eyes felt gritty and dry. The room was quiet except for the fridge buzzing in the kitchen and the glow of my phone screen, still dark, still off. Eventually, I turned it back on. It rang immediately. Loud. Aggressive. I didn't answer. Waited. It rang again. And again. And again. All that silence while I was lying in a hospital bed, for in my arm? That wasn't concern. But now that I'd gone quiet, they were spiraling. Because silence from me wasn't peace, it was a threat. Silence meant I might not come running. Silence meant I might be done. The calls turned into texts. Notifications came in rapid bursts. Then one final message from Dad. "Charles, what is wrong with you? Why haven't you responded? Don't tell me you forgot the mortgage, it's due Thursday." That was it. That was the moment I finally did what I'd been avoiding for years. I sat down. Typed a message to Dad. "I can't help this month. I have my own expenses." I watched the little status under the message change, seen. And then nothing. A quiet, heavy silence. Until it broke like a dam bursting. "What do you mean you can't? It's just one payment. We're struggling. You're abandoning your own family. Don't be selfish. After all we've done for you." Every line hit like it had been copied and pasted from years of old guilt trips. But this time? I didn't bend. Instead, I felt something settle in me. Like cement drying. Like steel reinforcing itself inside my ribs. I'd been soft for so long, moldable, giving, trying to be everything for everyone. But I wasn't soft anymore. I didn't cry. I didn't reply with an essay or an apology. Just one line. "I don't owe you." Then I powered off my phone. Quietly. Calmly. No theatrics. No final blowout. Just off. I grabbed my coat and walked out the door. Didn't know where I was going. Didn't need a plan. I just needed space. And air. Eventually I wandered into a little shop down the street. One I'd passed 100 times on my way to work. A home goods store, full of things I always told myself were for later. Later, after the bills. Later, after everyone else was taken care of. But this time, I walked in. I picked up this heavy ceramic mug. Deep forest green with a gold rim. It had weight to it. Sturdy. Solid. I held it in my hands and thought, this feels like something someone who matters would own. And for the first time in a long time, I realized, I matter. I'm allowed to have nice things. Not leftover mugs from my parents' house. Not branded freebies from conferences. Just something good. For me. Then I walked into a jewelry store next door. Found a pair of small silver earrings. No sparkle, no statement, just simple and clean. I put them on right there in the mirror. And for once, I didn't feel like someone's errand boy. I didn't feel like a utility. I just felt like me. It wasn't retail therapy. It wasn't some defiant shopping spree. It was a quiet moment of coming back home to myself. Later, back in my apartment, I turned my phone on again. 22 missed calls. 8 voicemails. A flood of emails. More guilt. More manipulation. Some disguised as jokes. Some pretending to care. From Dad. You don't know what this is doing to us. From Mom. I really thought you were better than this. I guess I was wrong. From Daniel. Wow. Really? You're just done now? I sat down at my kitchen table, pulled out my notebook, flipped to that one page, the one with the tally. Every payment. Every bailout. Every sacrifice. The mortgage. Utilities. Insurance. Daniel's car. Daniel's courses. Holiday dinners. Emergency loans. Birthday gifts. Grocery runs. Late fees. I totaled it again. Ran the numbers one more time. If I'd kept all that money, I could have bought a decent car. Put down a deposit on a place with more than one room. Taken a real vacation. And at the bottom of the page I wrote, starting this month, $0. Big. Bold. Ink pressing through the paper. Then I exhaled. After that flood of messages, the next 2 days were silent. Completely. No bills. No emoji storms. No half-guilty sticker bombs in the family group chat. Just peace. It was quiet enough to feel unfamiliar, but I liked it. I let myself believe, maybe they got it. Maybe they finally understood. Maybe this silence was respect. Space. Of course, I was wrong. On day 3, my dad called. And that's when I knew something was off, because he never calls. Texts, sure. Short and dry. But this was different. It rang. I didn't answer. 10 seconds later, a message lit up. Pick up. Urgent. Your mom's not well. My stomach clenched. It rang again. This time, I picked up. Charles, he said, and his voice was trembling. I don't know how to say this. Your mom had an episode this morning. We had to call an ambulance. Her heart rate spiked. She was dizzy, couldn't breathe. Doctor said it's stress-related. I didn't say anything. He kept going. She was terrified. She thought you were gone. She's pale. Still not doing well. We're all scared. She loves you, Charles. We all do. I wanted to ask, where were you when I was lying in that hospital bed, begging the ceiling for strength? But I didn't get the chance. He lowered his voice, real soft now. Please come. Just talk to her. Let her know you haven't left. Tell her you're not mad. As soon as my dad hung up, I dropped the phone on the bed and started throwing clothes into a bag. My thoughts were racing, heart pounding against my ribs. One line kept playing on repeat in my head. If you want to see her alive. My mom had always been the delicate one. Always sick with something, blood pressure, fatigue, mystery pains no doctor could explain. And I'd always believed her. But what if this time it was real? I didn't stop to ask questions. I didn't ask if she was in the hospital or just at home. I didn't ask what the doctor said or what room she was in. I just drove. When I pulled up, the porch light was already on. Dad opened the door before I could knock, like he'd been standing there waiting. No small talk. No awkward hugs. Just a quiet nod, then he stepped aside. Mom was in bed. Curtains drawn. Room dim and stuffy, the air thick with the scent of medicine and something slightly off, like sour milk and hand sanitizer. She looked small under the blanket. Pale. Her voice was barely a whisper. Daniel sat at the edge of the mattress, all somber, playing the part. Watching over her like a loyal son. When she saw me, Mom gave a soft smile and said, "Charles, I'm so glad you came." I sat beside her and held her hand. And just like that, all the weight came back. My eyes burned. Because no matter how much she's taken from me, she's still my mom. And for a moment, I let myself believe it was real. I got so scared. She whispered, "I dreamed you left and never came back." I stayed quiet. "If we were unfair to you," she added, "it wasn't from a bad place. We love you. We really do." When you stopped replying, it terrified us. Her words sounded right. Like something a loving parent might say. I started to doubt myself. Maybe I had gone too far. Maybe silence had been cruel. Maybe I was the one who'd overreacted. So I slipped back into old rhythms. For the next few evenings, I came by after work. Picked up groceries. Washed dishes. Mom stayed in bed most of the time, speaking in low tones, saying she felt lightheaded. I believed her. I bought her a soft gray blanket, something warm, something gentle. Ordered slippers she said reminded her of the ones she had when she was young. I wanted her to be comfortable. No one asked me for money directly. But Mom did drop a hint, just casually. "The new meds are pricey," she said. "Insurance doesn't cover much, but we'll manage somehow." So I sent $120. Dad gave a weary nod. "Thanks. Hopefully she starts improving soon." A few days later, Mom mentioned, almost in passing, that the washer had broken. "Not sure how we'll keep up with laundry now," she said faintly. So I sent $400 for a new machine. I didn't even think twice. Just like that, I'd slipped right back into the role. The helper. The reliable one. It all felt weirdly familiar, like slipping into a coat you thought you threw away. Then, one night, while scrubbing a saucepan in their kitchen, the question slipped out of my mouth before I could stop it. "Why didn't any of you come when I was in the hospital?" Silence. Mom looked down. Wouldn't meet my eyes. Dad walked into the room and said, "I twisted my ankle really bad. Couldn't drive. And your mom, she couldn't leave me alone. We were worried. Honest. It was just the timing. You get that, right?" "Yeah. I got it. I've always gotten it." But the next day, something happened that made everything unravel. I stopped by the bakery near my apartment to grab a few rolls. On my way out, I ran into Mrs. Kimberly, my parents' upstairs neighbor. Nice woman. Always had a smile and some random bit of gossip. We chatted for a minute. She asked about my mom. "She's doing better," I said. "She had a bit of a scare last week." Her eyebrows went up. "Oh? I didn't know she was sick." I blinked. She kept going, cheerfully oblivious. "Funny, saw her just last Friday. She looked great. We bumped into each other at the drugstore. She was in the makeup aisle, said she finally had a little time to herself. She was laughing, radiant." I froze. "Wait, Friday?" "Evening. Around 6. Place was packed." I left that conversation in a daze. That was the same day they'd called me, panicked. The day I dropped everything and rushed over. The night I sat at her bedside, holding her hand while she whispered like her breath was running out. I'd left their house around 5. And by 6, she was shopping? No. It couldn't be. Maybe Mrs. Kimberly got the day wrong. Maybe she mistook someone else for my mom. But the pit in my stomach told me otherwise. That evening, I showed up like nothing was wrong. Played it cool? Pretended I hadn't heard anything. While I was putting away dishes, I heard Daniel talking in his room, too loud, careless. On the phone. Man, that was close. Thought we'd lost her. But nah, she came back. Mom should have been an actress. She nailed it. Even I believed it for a second. Total Oscar performance. I stopped cold in the hallway. Couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. I stood there, listening to my little brother, the one I used to rock to sleep, laughing about how easy it was to pull me back in. Like it was a prank. Like it was a game. And they won. He turned and saw me. His face dropped. Charles, he stammered. Hey. What's up? I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. I grabbed my bag. Put on my coat. As I walked past him, I said quietly, "Tell Mom and Dad they really sold it. A+ performance." Then I left. Outside, the air was cold. Maybe raining. Maybe not. I couldn't tell. I wasn't crying. But something inside me had gone still. And something else, stronger, quieter, had finally woken up. It's been 6 months. I've got a new place now. Smaller, but full of light. The windows look out over a little park. I hear birds in the morning. At night, the smell of fresh bread drifts up from the bakery downstairs. Sometimes I wake up and just lie there, eyes open, wondering what this strange feeling is, this lightness in my chest, this quiet in my head. Then I realize it's peace. I don't know anyone anymore. I have weekends again. Real ones. I read novels, not workbooks or guides. I signed up for a swim class. Bought a couch because it was beautiful, not because it was discounted. I took a trip to Seattle for Christmas. Just because I felt like it. I don't have a family anymore. But for the first time in my life, I have me. And you know what? That turned out to be enough. More than enough, actually. These days, I've got real friends. The kind who don't need a reason to check in. Who don't fish for drama or slap guilt on top of every conversation. No backhanded comments. No emotional tolls. We grab coffee. Text about nothing. Sit in silence when the day's been too much. And somehow, that silence feels full, never empty. They don't keep score. They don't need me to perform. They just care. As I am. As for my family? Well, cutting off the cash flow apparently triggered a small civil war. Daniel had to say goodbye to his car. Turns out the bank doesn't accept vibes and Fortnite stats as collateral. No job, no payments, no car. He's still finding himself. I guess his path's just really good at hiding. Dad's freelance career vanished into thin air, surprise, surprise. All those long, work days, in the garage? Turns out he'd just been watching conspiracy videos and playing mechanic with tools he never used. And Mom? After a decade-long break from the workforce due to her emotional sensitivity, she finally dragged herself to the employment office. Word is, she's still searching for that magical job where no one's mean and you can sleep until noon. They had to sell the house. Now all 3 of them are packed into a 1-bedroom apartment on the other side of town. I hear they still tell stories about how I abandoned the family. Over dinner. Played the hits. Shed a few tears. Apologies? Of course not. That would mean looking in a mirror. And that's never been their strong suit. Instead, they launched a full-blown pity campaign. Emails. Phone calls. Facebook messages to distant relatives and friends of friends. Spinning tales like, "Charles left us in our time of need. After everything we did for her. We thought she was responsible. Turns out she's cold." Suddenly, I'm getting texts from cousins I haven't seen since high school. Great-aunts I didn't know still had my number. Random relatives I wouldn't recognize if they passed me on the street. "How could you do that to your mom? They gave you everything. I always thought you were the good one." At first, I stayed quiet. Didn't want to feed it. But then I got angry, not messy angry. Not internet post angry. Focused angry. I opened Google Drive. Created a folder. Named it. Since you asked? Inside, I dropped copies of my bank records, 3 years' worth of transfers. Payments for their mortgage. Utility bills. Daniel's car. Emergency loans that were somehow always my emergency. Screenshots of texts from Mom begging for money so they wouldn't sit in the dark. Dad reminding me that the mortgage doesn't pay itself. Daniel threatening eviction if I didn't come through. And one extra gem, a text from Mom thanking me for covering Daniel's therapy course. That course? A monthly subscription to an online gaming platform. I shared the folder with everyone who came after me. No speeches. No shaming. Just one quiet line. Before you judge, here's a glimpse of what was happening behind the curtain. Some people apologized. Some went quiet. A few doubled down with the classic. But they're your family. You don't just walk away from family. Except, yeah? You do. When they treat you like a credit card with a heartbeat? You absolutely do. Because family isn't who raised you. It's who shows up for you when there's nothing to gain. I'm not bitter. I'm not broken. I'm just healing. Learning to breathe in a space that belongs to me. Reclaiming all the little pieces I gave away for free. Sometimes, the only way to find out who you really are is to finally stop being who they told you to be. So yeah? That's my story. If you've made it this far, thanks for sticking around. And if you're wondering whether I made the right call? Well, look at me now. I'm free.